The current chairman of INEC, if he was the chairman of INEC in 2015, would not have won.
That's an important point.
May God bless Jega.
It's a very interesting point.
Because the ground rules were clear. The current chairman of INEC can only be compared to you. When we are to register APC, Jega opened the door and wants to comply with the registration requirement. He got APC registered. The current man, if like comply with all this, he will not register you. Already INEC is biased, working by the grace of God, by the grace of Dr. Peter Obi too, and the people of Nigeria, Rivers State. And if you don't care about their name, you don't care about their character. I wonder whether they don't think their children should be ashamed of themselves. I don't want to join issues with children. He made himself chief of staff, he made himself governor, he made himself minister, he made himself local government. Thank God. Then I thank Dr. Peter Obi for the role he played in my life, him and his wife, and I continue to say to people and to my wife and my children that I will never go against them. So no matter what they do to me, have they done a lot to me? They have done so many things that you will want to scream. But then you have to hold back yourself and say to yourself, God used this man. Dr. Obi and his wife, if they had said no, if he wasn't there, God used him. So you must respect God by respecting Nigeria as a country. Today, we can't have electoral reform. In a country like Nigeria. There's a state capture using the electoral institution as a machine. Because where there is no electoral reform, then it has to be a man of conscience. Already he's stopping parties from being registered. So already INEC has taken sides. The most important thing is that the Electoral Act allows you to register a political party. Just because one man... What is funny about the current government is that they don't even obey laws. They don't obey the constitution.
So are they stopping you from registering the party?
Of course. They're not allowing the opposition to register political parties. As they are stealing money, they don't know that the more they stole the money from the people, the more they impoverish the people. That's when they're weaponizing poverty. I didn't like the way the Igbos were being treated at a particular point in time. In protest against that treatment against the Igbos, I began to wear, what's it called? The tiger hair.
Traditional
clothes with the red cap. In protest, asking Nigeria to address their problem. Again, I made it public that I'm an Igbo man. In protest.
The former governor of Rivers State, Rotimi, Chibuike, Amaechi, and the former minister of transportation during Muhammad Buhari administration, he don't fire some Wike as a boy. He said whether some Wike like him or not, say in hire him for work and in PM, in be yoga, in senior him for the work because na in hire him. Hey, Wike don't go like this matter at all, because that one not even finish. He also can't address the matter of the coalition. How he be say the Tinubu administration no agree. I've been a cowardice, I've been a fear. They no agree INEC to register another political party. Just like Oga Jegabi allowed them register APC for 2015. Or Oga Tinubu no agree made them register another political party. Why? They say in fact INEC don't really they biased already when it be say election never even start. INEC don't really they biased. How we won't use enter election with biased INEC like this? Then he can't talk also address the matter we get to do with Ikwere being Igbo. He talks say him personally identify himself as an Igbo man. Well, I get as he explain them. You need to watch this interview till the end because Amaechi was very loaded. The Basbos where he give Wike and the Tinubu I know say APC no go like him at all. And they look forward to Bayo Nonoga responding to Amaechi very, very soon. Oh yeah, go watch him. Maybe Wike go call another press conference today, emergency one, to address with him. Amaechi don't tell him. Oh yeah, go watch him. Thank you.
Wike Rotimi Amaechi joins me now in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, Charles.
I like that big sigh coming from you.
Yes.
I mean, you've just turned 60. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Much of that time has been consumed by your involvement in Nigerian politics. With age and experience, does it get easier?
Only three political issues I will clear right away before we proceed to social issues. The first one is that nobody made me governor. God, Dr. Peter Obi, and the Nigerian judiciary. Nobody. And as a journalist, nobody has ever asked that man that says he made governor, how did you make this man governor? Nobody has ever asked that question. Two.
So how did you become governor?
I don't know. I went to court. Latif Pabemi is my lawyer. He's not the attorney general, so you should ask. So that's one thing that needs to be made very, very clear. Two, it is not true that I'll call him Mohammed Bello Adoke flew all the way from Abuja to Port Harcourt. That Wike asked me to make him commissioner for finance, and I said no. He has to work under me. I want him as chief of staff so I can supervise him. I didn't offer him commissioner for finance. You see, I'm saying this because I don't want to join issues with children.
Sure.
I don't want to join issues with children. Now we're finished with political questions. Can you go to social questions?
Yeah, but you know the questions lead to other questions.
No, I told you we will discuss.
Because when you say you wanted him to be, to you to watch over him, what does that mean?
Governor supervising his staff.
Because you felt he was a bit of a sort of renegade.
No, I don't want to discuss that. I don't want to discuss politics. I've told you here that it's governor supervising.
I will respect that.
Governor supervising his staff.
And we appreciate the fact that you took the time.
He made himself chief of staff. He made himself governor. He made himself minister. He made himself local government chairman. So end it there. Don't go further. Discuss my sister's birthday. Let's move forward.
Okay. Let's move forward. But as I said, these things might be touched on peripherally. Do you have satisfaction at what you've achieved at the age of 60? Do you think that you've become a man of substance?
You know, every time I speak, I seem to want to first thank God. Then I thank Dr. Peter Obi for the role he played in my life, him and his wife. And I continue to say to people and to my wife and my children that I will never go against them. So no matter what they do to me, have they done a lot to me? They have done so many things that you will want to scream. But then you have to hold back yourself and say to yourself, God used this man.
When you say they, you mean including Dr. Odili?
Dr. Odili and his wife. I'm not the...
Right, and
if they had said no, if he wasn't there,
right,
God used him. So you must respect God by respecting them. So now, when you look at your achievement and you have said this, then the rest will be hard work. And again, you see, I want to say this again, it's political. The current chairman of INEC, if he was the chairman of INEC in 2015, would not have won.
That's an important point.
May God bless Jega.
It's a very interesting point.
Because the ground rules were clear. The current chairman of INEC can only be compared to you, honestly.
But obviously,
have you seen a man who, when we were to register APC, Jega opened the door and wants to comply with the registration requirement. He got APC registered. The current man, if like comply with all this, he will not register you. Already INEC is biased, working. But again, don't take me to politics. Can we please discuss?
Right. But I mean, as I said, when you raise certain points, they lead to other questions.
You know what I told you people that if you go political, I will do like our former president. I remove the microphone.
Okay. Well, we don't want you to remove the microphone. Okay, but you must be proud that you've accomplished so much in your life. Certainly more than most people.
Well, it's not because I'm the best. I had the opportunity, I utilized the opportunity. So when the opportunity came for me to be the Speaker of the Parliament, Dr. Odili and I spoke. He felt that it was important I became the Speaker. Okay, I utilized the opportunity and I became the Speaker. The problem is not when you get the opportunity. The problem is what do you do with the opportunity? And God knows that I was one of the best speakers that this country had produced at that material time. I don't know what's happening now. Maybe there are better speakers than I was. But at that time, nobody would deny me the fact that I performed my duty as Speaker, that I was elected to become the chairman of the Speakers Forum. Since I left as chairman of Speakers Forum, I wonder if that Speakers Forum is still in existence. Okay, so again, I became governor by the grace of God, by the grace of Dr. Peter Obi too, and the people of Nigeria, Rivers State, and the judiciary, because it was at the end of the day, the judiciary pronounced me governor. Now, when I was then sworn to the office of the governor, you will ask the question, did you perform? Of course I did.
Well, you would say you performed, wouldn't you? I mean, you're not going to say you didn't perform. I mean, nobody would say
I'm prepared to ask you to open your phone and call people from River State. 12 people are building flyovers here and making noise. I built 5, 6 flyovers, 6. I built, they are there. And I didn't make noise. I didn't call president to come and commission. I didn't make noise. I built primary schools. Let any other governor who has built primary schools come forward in River State. I built secondary schools that people were calling universities. Two children per room. Two children per room in those schools. And I got an agency in India to come and manage those schools. So they brought science teachers from India and arts teachers from Nigeria.
And what's happened to them now?
Abandoned, vandalized.
That must break your heart.
No, that's why I don't go to River State, because it gives you mental disorder. Now, within that period, we tried to build a new city. We had finished with 24-hour power supply. It was abandoned and vandalized. So I'm not one that, you see, think would not give me an assignment, I will deliver. Okay, let's go to ministerial appointment. I began and completed the railway from Lagos to Ibadan. I began and completed the Lekki Deep Sea Port. Completed from beginning. And got it completed by the time I left office. Go to Kano, that's an inland dry port in Kano that I completed. And I told the owner of the inland dry port, you must build a primary and secondary school here to enable these children that run after us when we come, go to school free of charge. And he did that. I commenced the construction of Kano Kaduna. I completed Kaduna to Abuja, which was started by President Goodluck Jonathan. I started the Kano Maradi Railway, and it's going on. So don't give me an assignment because I will discharge it responsibly. I won't go about abusing people, talking. Maturity. Let me tell you what my second son tells me. We usually have conversations as a family. If you do something that, because currently the current politicians are not ashamed. They don't bother about their name. They don't bother about their character. Now, if you do anything that is wrong, my second son will tell me, Dad, you're not the only Amaechi, I am too. So
That's a good point.
Yeah, if you do something that rubs off on the name Amaechi, then it affects all of us.
Absolutely.
But if you do something against your Rotimi, I don't mind that. But unfortunately, you are not just Rotimi, you are Rotimi, Amaechi, and there are so many of us who bear the name.
That's a very, you got a wise kid.
Oh, not just him. So for that reason, every member of my family is taught how to behave so that I don't mess up the name.
And of course, you are preeminent.
Most people don't care about their name. They don't care about their character. I wonder whether they don't think their children should be ashamed of themselves.
And as you reflect on that time span of 60 years, I mean, I wonder if you reflect on the way that you have changed, as well as the way Nigeria, the country you grew up in, has also changed.
A lot of things have changed in the country. Have I changed?
Good or bad?
Are we moving from bad to worse in some areas? And when I'm ready for political conversation, I will have it, and it won't be Charles. Charles, it won't be you.
No, but why not?
Let me tell you why it won't be you. It will be between Sheon, who's been my friend a long time ago, more than, I don't know whether Sheon is up to 10 to 20 years, and my friends in their morning program. Right. Because they've been putting that pressure. You've never put any pressure, but they've been putting that pressure on me, and I've been avoiding them. The only thing I can tell you now is that, looking at the way Nigeria had run election, even though as crude as option A4 was under Babangida, it led us forward. At least a lot of transparency. You were sure of what was going on. Then we came back to meet people like you and others and the current one, and things got worse. So you don't know whether to say we are progressing or we are regressing.
Right.
You just don't know. What you say to yourself is, what do we do that Nigeria as a country today, we can't have electoral reform in a country like Nigeria. So you begin to wonder, are we moving forward? The answer I get in my head is, in some areas, yes, in other areas, no. It's complete. There's a state capture using the electoral institution as a machine. And should that be? Honestly, ask a question.
Well, I mean, the point really is that when you say things like this, as I said, there is obviously the need to clarify the points that you make, because, I mean, one wonders whether, given the fact that you appear to believe that electoral reform is not taking place, the kind of electoral reform that would give confidence to Nigerians and confidence to the opposition, it's not taking place. How does that make you feel going towards?
I said this by saying that I wish that the National Assembly could amend the Constitution,
right,
and allow Jega to remain there until able to get electoral reform. Because where there is no electoral reform, then it has to be a man of conscience. And then Jega was a man of conscience. So yes, the process was not what you think you can manage, but I'll manage it in such a way that all the parties will feel this was transparent. That's what happened in 2015. Nobody gave us a chance. I doubt even if Jega even gave us a chance. But because the process was transparent, the people's votes mattered.
Right. And that's what's important.
But here, currently, if I were the current chairman of INEC, I'll put, for Christ's sake, I love my name.
But he may not be there in 2027.
It doesn't matter. Already he's stopping parties from being registered. So already, INEC has taken sides. INEC is no longer the umpire.
Right. But in fairness to him, he's put forward a considerable number of reforms, though.
To whose advantage?
I mean, he's proposed a number of reforms.
Whether he proposes it or not, to whose advantage? First, there has to be parties to compete for that election. You're putting those number of reforms. So when there are no parties to compete for those positions, then what importance is that reform?
But are you talking about the party that you're discussing in this opposition coalition, like a new party? Or?
Whether it is new or old, whatever. The most important thing is that the Electoral Act allows you to register a political party.
Right.
Just because one man sees. One thing funny about the current government is that they don't even obey laws. They don't obey the Constitution.
So are they stopping you from registering the party?
Of course, they're not allowing the opposition to register political parties.
You've been Speaker of a state assembly, governor of a state, federal minister, and you've attempted to be president. I mean, do you think you're a long way from ever becoming president? Is that what's left for you to do in terms of your political ambition?
Charles, no comments. We agreed no political prisoners.
Yeah, but you've been talking politics.
I told you about issues I needed to clear, and I've cleared them. So
take us back to 1999, for example, when you were just 34 years old and you had your breakthrough into elective office. You were elected into the Rivers State House of Assembly, and subsequently you became Speaker of the Assembly. How much did that break new ground for you, and how carefully did you have to think about getting fully into politics before you did that? I mean, did you have a lot of anxieties and things about becoming, getting into that position? You were just 34 years old.
The process, I was 34 when I became Speaker. The process was a bit more transparent than you have now. So it was a matter of, in fact, in the court, if you lost the election and you went to court, you were assured that the court was a bit more transparent, and you could come out there getting a verdict that you go home satisfied. So, as young as I was, I got elected. And I became Speaker. And the judiciary was given their due respect. Then I had to do, what did I do? Discharge my responsibilities for the number of years I was supposed to discharge my responsibilities, 8 years. And we had an opposition party, APP. And they gave us our run for the money. And it wasn't easy to manage them. But you have to do everything to ensure that both the party in power and the opposition party work together to produce a better result for the state. Then I got elected as governor at the age of 42.
Right. Was there any ideological urgency to your joining politics as a young man? Did you feel that there was something perhaps transformative that you needed to do? Or were you attracted to the power and the fame of it all, or a mixture of all of them?
Now, I'd reverse that question. I will ask you, going by what I've attributed to my positions,
right?
Will you say it was transformative or not?
Well, that's not for me. I mean, I'm asking you a biographical question.
I just mentioned to you here now, I ran a free education program in Rivers State. Free. In fact, I was careful not to make it compulsory. What I wanted to do was a free and compulsory education. But then they will ask you about the funds, but again, we're doing free education. So we ran the education in Rivers State in such a way that private schools began to close down because parents were not taking their children away from private schools to government schools. Now, how many do you have in government school? When I came, it was 150 children per class. I reduced it to 25, 30 maximum, right? By any school where you have more than the number of children in that school, we expanded by building more schools and more classrooms. And then we also, like I said earlier, constructed new secondary schools, which you had 1,000 students per school, you had 2 children per room, you had 25 per class. We were sure of what we wanted to do. These are things that then, as I usually tell people, I say, you need to be a member of the House to be a governor. Why? By the time you travel out and see what others are doing, for instance, the primary schools that I built in Rivers State, I copied it from the ones that I saw in Australia. When I saw it, was magnificent. And then I had to build them. And I made sure that every community had one primary school or the other. I then built primary healthcare centers, employed another set of 400 doctors, bought 600 cars for the 600 doctors we had. I met just 200 doctors in the deployment of Rivers State. I had to hire 400 doctors. The question to ask that, are they still there? And for those 600 doctors that were in the deployment of Rivers State government, I bought 600 cars for them. The ones in the rural areas, I built houses for them to live in because they were health centers. In each health center, you had a house for the nurses and you had one for the doctor.
So you don't think they're still there?
I wish you can take a tour. I'm willing to raise the funds for you to take the tour.
No, don't worry about the funds. We can sort it out ourselves.
Okay, so such that yourself.
But the reason, but you're here and I'm asking you, because the reason I ask you is that I would like to know why such a thing that sounds like it's very important to the people of Rivers State, that would actually make a difference to their lives, why that would cease to exist.
You should ask those who succeeded me. you don't ask me such questions because...
Well, I mean, you're the one suggesting that it's no longer there.
I'm not suggesting, I know that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So why do you think it's no longer there?
I don't go to Rivers State. I built a stadium, not just a stadium, I built a sports village. It's abandoned. It's not in use. The medical school in the Rivers State University of Science and Technology called me to give me an award. I established it. And I dedicated the award to Governor Wike. And nobody asked me why. And I said, the reason why I dedicated that award to Governor Wike is because he never abolished the medical school. But I built a mother and child hospital. It was abandoned. I completed it. It just furnished. It's abandoned until today. It's abandoned until today. And I partnered with NDDC to do that, to build that mother and child hospital. We built an orthopedic hospital. NDDC did that. It's abandoned till today.
Was it Wike who abandoned?
I don't know. All I know is that it is Rivers State government. So the question to ask is, what's all that noise about?
I mean, are both of you still friends today?
Why go into my personal relationships? I thought
Yeah, but that's what you said you preferred to talk about.
I talk about my
rather than
social life.
politics.
I talk about my social
Well,
life.
that's part of your social life.
No.
I mean, do you guys hang out and, I mean, you don't drink alcohol, but
Thank God you know I don't drink alcohol.
Yeah.
Again, apart from the fact I don't drink alcohol, I've told you several times, subordinates. I was once his boss, whether he likes it or not.
But I mean,
I hired him.
Yeah.
I could have said no.
but I mean, you don't think that both of you have become equals? I mean, you were a governor, he was a governor. You were a minister, he's a minister.
I was a speaker.
I like that. So it's that kind of chess game, is it? Well, I mean, recently your polemic and your message have been strongly against the APC and its presidential leadership. Why have you explicitly veered away from your support for the party?
You know, I'll start the answer with just saying that I'm grateful to Buhari. Maybe if he didn't offer me the opportunity to be the director general of the campaign, I would probably not have been the director general of the campaign. And at the end of the day, he offered me the opportunity of being a minister, where I discharged my responsibility in the Ministry of Transport. But outside that, I don't want to talk about APC.
Well, do you want to talk about the opposition alliance that you?
I also don't want to talk. I'm not the leader of the opposition alliance, so I don't want to talk about the opposition. You don't discuss. There's a saying in my village that if the mouth goes to war first,
Right.
when the leg comes, they will capture the leg.
Well, let me put it this way. With the electioneering for 2027 already beginning, and nobody can deny that, analysts say that for the opposition, the challenge is clear. It's got to be a merger or bust. If they don't form an alliance, Tinubu will be left odds on to win in 2027. Do you agree?
Why would you want me to discuss politics?
Well, because you're here and it's interesting to talk to you. I mean, you're at the heart
you
of
spoke
all
to the
those
Minister
things.
for Communication. Did you discuss politics with him?
No, but he came to discuss something. I mean, he's a minister.
I was invited here to discuss my 60th birthday.
Yeah, but this is all part of your 60th
No.
birthday.
Alliance is not part of my 60th
The things,
birthday. APC.
but you had a symposium at your 60th birthday,
Yes.
and a lot of the people who were there were opposition politicians.
I hope you know that I didn't organize the
But that's part of your 60th
Yeah,
birthday.
but I didn't organize it. There was a committee headed by Governor Suswa. So if you want to discuss that, then I would ask Governor Suswa to see you.
But how much will the resolve of the opposition be tested to come together to form a mega party that can potentially defeat Tinubu in 2027? Since they come across as so divided.
Charles, you're a typical Nigerian. Nigerians don't care about anything. What do I mean by that? You are not even addressing the fact that before we can even start, the chairman of INEC has ruled out the registration of any new party.
Yeah, but you're still you still come together yourself.
Okay, so supposing we come together and we have no party.
Yeah, but I mean,
You should first address that and stop addressing whether coalition or no coalition.
but there are alternatives. I mean, the SDP has been mooted. The ADC has been mooted.
Okay, what is wrong with a new party?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I'm not
So why
the person who is in charge
are you suggesting that?
of INEC.
Why are you suggesting that?
Why am I suggesting what?
Why are you suggesting ADC and SDP and all that?
Well,
why don't you think that?
Because that's an alternative.
No. You see, you must ask people to keep to the law. You can't be chairman of INEC if you want to obey the law. It's like National Assembly calling for a voice vote. A voice vote for a two-third majority. How do you do that? How do you do that? Why do people not go to court? Because at the end of the day, only God knows what will happen in court.
There's a crucial area I'd like to talk to you about before we have to go.
Thank God we're going.
and that is your thoughts on the state of emergency in Rivers State.
I've made that public a long time. I've said to you that the president was not right. In fact, if there's anybody I'm disappointed at okay, he was my lawyer, so no need to talk about him. Because you can say I'm a young lawyer, but that constitution does not give the president the power to suspend any governor. What it just means that if anybody becomes president, they can wake up and close and arise. No, you must go by the law. That's why it's called the rule of law.
But how come that is being allowed to? I mean, all of you, you're all very significant.
You and I are the problem of the country.
Yeah, but
it's not the president.
You're from Rivers State.
Yes.
You were a former governor.
What makes you think
you've got a lot
of
of political pedigree?
What's your son in Nyogolu, right?
Yes.
Anambra.
No, Enugu.
What makes you think it can't happen in Enugu?
Well, it hasn't happened.
Yeah,
it's happened in Rivers.
It hasn't happened in Enugu because I'm sure the government must be scared, so he's towing the line. Why do that?
No, but what I'm saying is, what do you?
Did you observe what happened in South Korea?
But what?
This evening I was watching.
Yes.
This evening I was watching.
I mean, they're holding their elections.
This evening I was watching. What's it called? I was watching Al Jazeera, and they were showing me resistance in Bangladesh. How the prime minister, is it Hassani, also was removed in Bangladesh by the people. But you're even afraid to go out. If they shoot knockouts here, and you'll be the first to jump out.
Why are you taking aim at me? I don't understand. You're the one who's from Rivers State. It's your state. You're a former governor there, and you're sitting there and you're not doing anything about it, and you're turning to me. I don't understand.
Let me repeat what I said when I was a governor. When this militancy started, and they felt, oh, it was Rivers State. And I said, be careful. This militancy could be found in every part of the country because it has to do with poverty. You know, people would ask me, and that would be the last thing I would discuss with you. When people ask me, why did you choose the topic weaponization of poverty? I say, indeed, you know, one problem everybody has that nobody has bothered to listen. Nobody said it's only this government that is weaponizing poverty. No, it's been, and that's why I go with Erufai, who said are politicians that bright to weaponize poverty. It's unintended. As they are stealing money, they don't know that the more they stole the money from the people, the more they impoverish the people. That's when they are weaponizing poverty. But if they don't steal money and that money is deployed, like I asked the question, okay, the president removed subsidy. Where is the money? The president removed the subsidy on oil, subsidy on electricity. Where is the money?
Well, the president says, and I'm not a spokesman for him, but he says a lot of that money has been given to the states. A lot of that money have gone towards the education fund and things like that.
And we're not feeling it.
Well, I mean, there are students who are getting funding. Let's face it. Well, they're talking about hundreds of thousands.
Okay, so we want to see them because it would affect it by now. And let me tell you, it got a point where oil subsidy. Oil subsidy got to 8 trillion naira. If you deploy 8 trillion naira into this economy now, it will feel the impact. Even Rice City will feel the impact. Let me also tell you, do we need the coastal road in that manner that it was awarded? Yes, the South-South needs the road, but fix the East-West road.
Yeah. People have said that, in fairness. One final question.
Because at that point, I don't know how many trillions, depending on who you see. Some say it's 33 trillion, some say whatever trillion it is. If you deploy that money to the economy, it will change our lives. Who is collecting that money? The president needs to tell us.
That's a valid question. Finally, which ethnic group do you belong to?
I'm an Ikwereman.
What does that mean? I mean, there are people who say that if you talk to some Ikwere people, they'll say they are Igbo. If you talk to others, like Nyesom Wike, they'll say they are not. And Igbo, at different times, you have said you're Igbo, and other times you said you're not.
Don't bring that controversy. Don't bring that controversy. I don't know why you want to go into that controversy.
Well, because it's interesting to know what your position is.
No, it's not. Why is it not? Okay. You are first and foremost an Ikwere man before you can be an Igbo man. So if you ask an Ikwereman man, who are you? You say, I'm an Ikwereman man. So what you can say is an Ikwereman man and an Igbo man. There are those who there are divergent views. Majority will say no. In all honesty, majority will say no. There is a very tiny minority which includes me. And why do I take that position? It's political. And when I say political, it's not to win the votes of the Igbos. I didn't like the way the Igbos were being treated at a particular point in time. In protest against that treatment against the Igbos, I began to wear what's it called? The tiger hair,
traditional
clothes with the red cap, in protest, asking Nigeria to address their problem. Again, I made it public that I'm an Igbo man in protest.
But not in fact.
It doesn't make me, whether I'm an Igbo man or not, is immaterial at this point in time. Again, I also argue with my brothers in the Ikwereman community. Our cultures are similar.
Right.
Our language is also similar.
Okay.
The kind of food we eat, the same. So why would you deny not being an Igbo man?
Okay. On that note, I want to thank you very much indeed.